Okay, so today we're diving into a book that has probably launched a million debates, and maybe even a few millionaires, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Why is it so influential? Because it takes everything you think you know about money and just flips it on its head. And it all kicks off with a really simple story.
The whole book is really built around this one powerful idea. Kiyosaki basically had two dads growing up. His poor dad, that was his actual father, was a super educated guy, a government official, who, even with a great salary, just seemed to struggle with money his entire life. But then there was his rich dad, who was his best friend's father. This guy was a school dropout, yet he went on to become one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. So same world, two completely different outcomes.
And this one quote, man, it just perfectly sums up the huge difference in how they saw the world. See, it was never about who worked harder. Both of them were incredibly hard workers. The real difference was what they were working for. Poor Dad's advice is all about job security, right? Finding your place inside the system. But Rich Dad's advice, that's about owning the system. That one little shift in thinking is what creates two totally different financial paths.
And when you lay it all out like this, wow, you can see how these opposite views showed up in everything they did. Poor Dad thought risk was a bad thing to be avoided. Rich Dad saw it as a skill to be learned and managed. Poor Dad believed what we all hear, your house is your biggest asset. Rich Dad had a pretty controversial take on that, which we'll get to in a minute. Even their own self-talk was worlds apart. One was basically a self-fulfilling prophecy of never having enough, while the other was a statement of identity, something he said long before it was even true.
This is such a game changer of an idea. What Rich Dad was saying is that being broke, that's just a situation. It's about your bank account today. It's temporary. But being poor, that's a mindset. It's a way of thinking that holds you back. And that is so important because it means that building wealth is an inside job first. You have to win the game in your head before you can win it in the real world.
So if you get stuck in that poor mindset, where does it lead? Well, it leads you straight into a trap that Kiyosaki famously called the rat race.
This is lesson number 1, the absolute core of the entire book. The rat race is that endless loop so many people are stuck in. You get a job to earn money, you use that money to pay your bills, and suddenly you need more money. So you work harder, maybe get a raise, but then your lifestyle costs more, and you're right back where you started. You're running faster and faster on the hamster wheel, but you're not actually going anywhere. The whole point, according to Rich Dad, isn't to run faster. It's to figure out how to get off the wheel completely. And you do that by getting your money to do the work for you.
And that's why just getting a raise almost never fixes anything. Kiyosaki points out that you can be a doctor or a lawyer, making a ton of money, but still be financially illiterate. You know how to earn it, but you have no idea how to keep it or make it grow. Real financial freedom doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from what you do with what you make. It all comes down to financial intelligence.
All right, so if it's all about managing money, what's the big secret? What's the most important rule of the game? Well, according to Rich Dad, it all boils down to truly understanding the difference between two simple words: assets and liabilities.
This might be the single most important idea in the whole book, and for a really good reason. It suggests that most of us are out here playing the game of money without even knowing the basic rules. We spend our lives buying things we think are making us rich, when in reality, they're the very things keeping us poor.
I love this because Rich Dad just cuts through all the complicated financial talk with this incredibly simple definition. That's it. An asset puts money in your pocket. It's something that pays you. Think about a rental property bringing in rent, or stocks paying dividends, or a business that makes money while you sleep. It's a money machine, plain and simple.
And on the flip side, you have liabilities. And you guessed it, they do the exact opposite. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Think about your car payment, your credit card debt, that subscription you forgot about. These things are constantly draining your wallet.
Okay, so the big takeaway here is that cash flow tells the real story. It doesn't matter what you call something. What matters is which way the money is flowing. Is it flowing to you or away from you? And this leads us to the idea that just blows people's minds: your house. For almost everyone, a house takes money out of your pocket every single month, right? There's the mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs. So by this very simple definition, your home isn't an asset, it's a liability. Now, knowing all the technical stuff is great, but it's useless without the right mindset. This is where it gets really interesting. Rich Dad argues that your number one most powerful asset isn't a stock or a bond or a piece of real estate. It's your mind.
Think about this phrase, I can't afford it.
We hear it all the time, we say it all the time. But the book says this phrase is an absolute brain killer. The second you say it, your brain just shuts down. The conversation is over, there's no problem to solve, no creativity needed, it's just a dead end.
But watch what happens when you just tweak it a little. Instead of a statement, you make it a question. How can I afford it? All of a sudden, your brain has to wake up. It has a puzzle to solve. It starts looking for solutions, for opportunities. You go from a statement of defeat to an exercise that actually makes your financial mind stronger.
Kiyosaki breaks this down even further with something he calls the cash flow quadrant. Think of it like a map of how people earn money. On the left side, you've got E for employee and S for self-employed. This is where most people are. You're trading your time for money. On the right side, you've got B for business owner and I for investor. Over here, you own systems and assets, and your money works for you. The whole philosophy of Rich Dad is about learning how to move from the left side of that quadrant over to the right. That's the path to real freedom.
Okay, so this is a lot to take in. You might be thinking, this is great, but where in the world do I even start? What's the very first move you should make?
And here we are, full circle. The book is crystal clear on this. Before you ever invest a single dollar in a stock or a piece of real estate, you have to invest in your own financial education. You have to invest between your ears. As Rich Dad would say, buying an investment without understanding it isn't investing, it's gambling. Your financial intelligence is the foundation, and you can't build a skyscraper on a weak foundation.
So here's the playbook, right from the book. Step 1, you learn. Read books, take courses, whatever it takes. Step 2, you absolutely master that difference between an asset and a liability. Step 3, you make it your mission to acquire those income-generating assets. And finally, number 4, you practice one of the hardest but most important disciplines, pay yourself first. That means before you pay your mortgage or your car loan, the very first bill you pay every single month is to your investment account. It forces you to be creative and resourceful instead of just hoping you have a little money left over at the end.
The book points out this pretty incredible statistic. It claims that about 90% of the population gets their paycheck and immediately goes out to buy luxuries, new TVs, cars, whatever, things that are liabilities. But the other 10%, the wealthy, they do the exact opposite. They take their money and buy business books, attend seminars, and invest in assets first. It's just a powerful reminder that becoming wealthy isn't luck, it's a choice about where your money goes.
And that really brings us to the final powerful idea of the book. Your financial future isn't some big event that's going to happen someday. It's the result of all the small choices you make every single day. Every dollar you have is like a vote. You're casting a vote for the person you want to become. So, the question the book leaves us with isn't just a thought experiment. It's a real choice you're making right now. What will you choose?